What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is your boy Frankie Bones, and in today's video I'm going to be giving you guys another Yankees spring training update. I'm recording this today, Wednesday, March 22nd, here in the PM. Got some pretty interesting and cool stuff to talk to you guys about today. Going to be running through some of the injuries that have been plaguing the Yankees over the past couple of weeks. I know it's been a little while since my last Yankees video, but look forward to more consistent uploads as we get going into the season. Really looking forward to it being a staple part of the channel. So if you guys are enjoying some of this content and you're looking forward to more of it in the future, please feel free to let me know by either dropping a like on the video or letting me know in the comments what you guys enjoy about the episodes, what you'd want to see in the future as we get into the season, or what you guys would maybe change about some of the setup of these videos. So just sort of outlining what we're going to go through today. Again, we're going to go through the injuries that the Yankees have been dealing with, what are some of the effects of that, and as well we're going to be wrapping up the video with some of the major hot topics that everybody has been talking about as we approach opening day. So I forgot if I mentioned it in one of my videos before, but I did just come back from a trip to Florida. So the first thing I'm going to do in this video is go through some pictures and videos that I took from the games. I went to the game on Saturday in Dunedin where the Yankees played against the Toronto Blue Jays. And I also went to the game on Sunday at George M. Steinbrenner Field, which was amazing, my first time there. But what I'll do is I'll kick it over to some of the clips and videos and get this video started. Alright, so to get my weekend of spring training baseball started, going to keep these kind of quick. Obviously, it's spring training. Starting things off on Saturday, was super excited to see the Yankees' top prospect, Anthony Volpe, in the lineup. Most of the guys played all weekend, which was really awesome to see. I'm glad I had the opportunity to see the guys working at the kinks. The Yankees did end up losing this game 5-2. Nestor started for the boys in his first start, coming off of injury, so you sort of really never know what to expect in that situation. He pitched all right, he did have some good stuff, but ultimately did end up surrendering 2 home runs to Whit Merrifield and Vladdy as well. But, overall impact, I think the boys did play well, sort of just grounded into a couple double plays, didn't capitalize, but again, it's spring training, so not putting too much weight into it. But I'm going to include some videos here. I have one of Judge almost taking one deep to left, and then also Big G with a nice hit as well.
There you go.
Alright, so moving on to the game that took place on Sunday at home for the Yankees, George M. Steinbrenner Field. Again, it was my first time at the stadium, so it was super cool. I'll show you guys a couple of pictures here. It's right across from the Tampa Bay Bucks stadium, so sort of walking in from the parking lot, and then showing you guys a little shot from the right field, showing you a little bit about sort of the stadium. Really cool spot, which was awesome to see, and obviously you would expect that from the Yankees. Showing you guys my seats. I got pretty good seats with my dad here on the third baseline, sort of between home plate and the dugout. Got a really good deal, so obviously had to jump on that. And then just some other pictures of the guys on the field, which was really cool to see. It's baseball season again. World Baseball Classic was awesome to see. Obviously wished for a different result for Team USA. But when it came down to Shohei and Trout, obviously you can't wish for anything better in that situation. But getting back to the Yankees, they did end up losing this game as well. Garrett Cole was on the mound. He didn't have his best stuff today. Sort of still working up the pitch count. They didn't have a ton of info on the scoreboard and things like that during the game. So sort of tough to get some stats when you're sort of watching the game in person. They lost the game 5-3. He pitched all right. The bullpen looked pretty good. Only surrendering 1 run there with Garrett Cole with 4 earned. But he did have 7 Ks. Most of the guys played again as well. So I do have a couple of clips to include in there for you guys with Judge and Stanton both getting some base knocks and Garrett Cole getting a strikeout to close out the inning. So moving on to our next part of the spring training update video, going to move on to talk about some of the injuries that have been piling up a little bit for the Yankees here over the past 2 weeks or so since my last video. The first thing, and definitely the most important injury, Carlos Rodon going down with a forearm strain. The Yankees definitely need to take their time with this. Obviously, it's very early in the season. They think that they dodged a pretty major bullet. Sometimes that can attribute to Tommy John, sort of depending on the severity and ultimately what the injury looks like overall. It's a pretty blanket umbrella statement of forearm strain. For a pitcher, the forearm strain, elbow injury, and shoulder are the 3 things you don't want to hear. But it does look like that he may return in late April, early May. Definitely want this to be on the latter end. Just make sure that he's healthy when he comes back and we're ready for the long season. Next, we have 2 guys from the bullpen who went down. We have Tommy Kahnle going down with bicep tendonitis and Lou Trevino, first time this season messing that up, going down with an elbow sprain. It's going to be interesting to see when these guys come back. Tommy Kahnle tried to start a throwing program last week on March 17th. He threw, but then ultimately was sore and wasn't able to throw the next 2 days. Sort of the last update that we got. So we'll have to stay tuned on him. Hopefully should be ready, middle of April, I would say, and early May to be safe. For Lou Trevino, didn't get really an exact timeline on that. Looking at sort of a May, June return. Obviously, elbow is a big issue for pitchers, so we'll have to have some updates on that throughout the season. Moving on to sort of the last major injury that we saw over the course of this time frame. Harrison Bader goes down with an oblique injury. This was at the beginning of March. Sort of set a 6-week time frame just about on him. So that would slate us at around a late April return. Again, it's the beginning of the season. I think it's really important to take your time with these injuries, take care of them now, and have them hopefully be a non-issue, non-lingering issue throughout the season. A couple other things I want to talk about. I did say that Nestor Cortez, who threw Saturday at the game I was at, was his first start coming off of injury. He did look good. No signs of any issues or anything like that, so hopefully he should be ready to go towards the start of the season. Obviously, they'll need to ramp him up towards that 85 to 100 pitch mark. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, DJ looked good. He played on Sunday, so he should be good with all those toe issues. Anthony Rizzo played both games, so that lingering back issue is hopefully being resolved, and they're sort of able to work around it if not. And then one other guy that I wanted to talk about in the bullpen, I didn't mention it previously in my other video, is that Scott F. Ross did get Tommy John at the end of last year, so he will miss the entirety of the 2023 season. A guy that's under team control for a while, the Yankees got from the Cubs. Definitely a funky style, sort of sidewinder. He'll be a good piece moving forward, but unfortunately it looks like he will miss the entirety of the 2023 season. And finally, going to move on to our last and probably most exciting topic or sort of conversation point here in the video is the hot topics that we'll talk about approaching opening day. Things that the greater media and Twitter world have really been talking about nonstop. And things that are ultimately the biggest questions and biggest things to figure out over the first couple of weeks of the season. And the time leading up to it as well. An important 2 weeks or so week now with the Yankees opening up on the 30th against the Giants. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the log jam that the Yankees currently have in the infield. So these are guys that are all currently on the roster already. We have DJ and Donaldson sort of rotating in at third base with each other. Gleyber Torres obviously will be slotted back at second base. And as things are right now, we have IKF at shortstop. So these are 4 guys for 3 spots. We had this issue last year. Donaldson was not hitting very well last year, so I think at times it was easy for the Yankees to slot DJ in there at third. Obviously, still a great defender. Donaldson, a great defender as well, but just wasn't doing it as much with the bat. So that sort of solves some issues, but I think we're still ultimately running into that issue. Yes, DJ will still help settle in at first as well, give Rizzo some off days, or whether he's DHing, facing a lefty, what have you. So still just in that similar log jam. There were obviously rumors of us maybe looking to move on from Gleyber Torres, now in his final year of arbitration, hitting free agency next year. But that's just sort of the log jam that we have in the infield. We'll have to see how that plays out over this past week. And obviously it's always good to have depth, in the infield and throughout early in the season to give guys good rest. Also, you can slate in Oswaldo Cabrera in there. He did play second. He plays third. He, plays short. He's the ultimate utility guy. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the elephant in the room. It's Anthony Volpe, and it's that he deserves a spot. Obviously, the Yankees do a great job of protecting their prospects, really manipulating their service time to be able to give them an advantage of how long they can keep a player before they're ultimately eligible to hit free agency. We saw it with guys like Gleyber Torres in particular and some other young guys coming up throughout the years. It's been, something a lot of teams do that are smart, but ultimately some people view it as not a win-now move, and those people may potentially be me. So talking a little bit about Anthony Volpe's stats from this spring training, he's hitting over 300, really confident at the plate against some pretty good pitchers, obviously, at this point in spring training. A majority of his hits are actually extra base hits, which is really awesome to see. He has great bat-to-ball skills, great pop, and we obviously know that he has great speed. Defensively, he's been excellent, playing both shortstop and second base. We've seen some examples of him and Peraza playing together up the middle, turning two, which is really awesome to see. So we'll have to see where Peraza fits into this puzzle as well. Obviously, having came up last year at the end of the year. And ultimately, I think Volpe's just a really versatile player. Again, he can play both spots up the middle. And he's definitely proved to ownership and Cashman and Boone as well that he is ready for the big leagues, and ultimately it's going to be on them to make the decision sort of where this roster falls as to whether or not he can be utilized at the beginning of the year or if they're going to have to wait till after that service day deadline for him to come up and make an impact. The next thing that we're going to hop over and talk about is the outfield situation. So we talked about earlier, Harrison Bader goes down with an oblique injury, so that opens up a spot in center field. Talking about some of the other issues that we've seen, Aaron Hicks is really struggling with the glove out in left field, sort of misplaying balls, giving up on balls, dropping them. This is really something that we've never seen from Aaron Hicks before. He's always been an incredibly solid defender. Over the past couple of years, we've seen some issues with his durability and also with his hitting as well. Sometimes switch hitters can go through that sort of funk. But, it's definitely an odd situation for him. Obviously, he's under contract, but just sort of another hole, and it's definitely a question mark, trying to fill up this outfield spot. Another thing that we saw, I think last week, we saw IKF take some reps in center field, which definitely pretty interesting. Obviously, he's a very big utility player. He even commented a couple of days ago about putting the catcher's gear back on, just in case of emergency. Obviously, the Yankees have Kyle Higashioka to back up Jose Trevino, so don't imagine him seeing a ton of reps, but obviously he is a very versatile defender across the diamond and throughout the outfield as well, apparently. Another big talking point, the Yankees have put emphasis on Giancarlo Stanton getting some reps in right field, which on paper would bump Aaron Judge to left field. He said that he was pretty comfortable with playing left, and Giancarlo has came out saying that he really does enjoy playing in the field, obviously when possible. I think a lot of guys would feel this way. Sometimes it's difficult to make that impact at DH all the time. Being able to contribute in the field and being a much bigger part of the game, definitely gets you more involved. And I think guys would definitely echo that. So as long as he's healthy, I would love for him to play right field. Opens up another spot for this high potent offense to be able to rotate guys in at DH. Obviously, including himself, he won't be playing right field every day. Sort of just talked about the possibility of him playing right field at Yankee Stadium, where obviously they'll play about half of their games. And the last thing that I'll talk about in terms of the outfield is Oswaldo Cabrera. So we saw him come up and make a big splash and sort of quickly become a fan favorite at the end of last year. He had some great plays. He has good pop, good speed. Again, a switch hitter. Mainly playing left field. He did play a little bit of right as well. And earlier in spring training, he did actually play some center field as well. So pretty interesting to see. Maybe he'll slot in center field. Obviously he's a very confident player. He shows that with the way that he carries himself, the way that he goes about his at-bats, everything like that. He handled the Bronx very well, and I think he's definitely a viable option to start either in left or maybe even center field to start the season to get things underway until the Yankees are able to get off the injury report and get back to full strength. And finally, the last thing that I'm going to talk about as one of the sort of last hot topics that everybody's talking about as we approach opening day, and it aligns with the injuries, is what is the end of this rotation going to look like? So we do know that Frankie Montas will most likely be down until the end of the season, maybe a late August return with the shoulder issue that he has been going through. So definitely pretty interesting to see who will slot into that spot. And also with Rodon coming back maybe late April, I'd argue probably a little bit easier in early May. We're going to see opportunities for Clark Schmidt and definitely Domingo Germán. Germán really has been pretty strong in most of the outings that he has had for the Yankees over the years. He's looked pretty good in spring training so far, and I think that these are definitely two guys that are going to be eating up innings for this team, and we'll sort of eat up some of those innings. I'm definitely in favor of trying to run a six-man rotation throughout April, maybe even into May. Keep the innings off of these guys early in the season, get them into rhythm, get them all stretched out, I think is definitely beneficial. And the last thing is maybe the Yankees will make a trade here at the end of the week or in the middle of this week. Obviously, there are some holes in this lineup and on this roster right now with guys on the injury report. Maybe we could end up trying to trade for a back-end pitcher to be that fifth guy. I think for all intents and purposes, the Yankees have to operate under the assumption that Montas will not return as a starter for this year, which is definitely tough, obviously being hurt last year after they picked him up. But we'll have to see. The Yankees do like to make trades here late into spring training. Once I get a good idea of where the team is going to fall, it may include somebody like Estevan Florial, who's out of options. So, we may see him either getting a roster spot or maybe the Yankees looking to move on from him, package him up, and try and get a pitcher in return, or even try and bolster the bullpen. Obviously, that has been a strength for the Yankees for years, and I'm sure that they're looking for ways to continuously improve that back end, as once they're fully healthy, the starting rotation should as well be another strong point as well. Just sort of shorten the games and help them convert on these close games, which they were pretty good at last year. So that's going to do it for this Yankee spring training update for you guys. We're just about over a week away from opening day. I'm incredibly excited to have my prized possession in baseball back. Looking forward to going to games in the Bronx. Gonna see what sort of content I can come out with that. Sort of vlog style videos maybe from some games that I end up going to. But let me know what you guys think of this style of video in the comments down below. In terms of taking videos, pictures, stuff like that. But I look forward to bringing a lot more Yankees content to you guys again, like I mentioned, as the season gets underway. But for now, that is going to do it for this video, guys. Appreciate all the support again. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you guys haven't done so already, these are just free ways to support me and help grow the channel for more future videos as we continue to go on. But again, this has been your boy Frankie Bones, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.